Warm greetings from Samarkand. Today we are going to watch some 4 games of Rapid Chess Championship.
Okay. After 5 rounds of World Rapid and Blitz Championship 2023 in Samarkand, we have the results. And in the first 5 places are shared by Magnus Carlsen, the world's arguably the greatest of all time. So, and in the second place there is Yu Yang Yi, Arjun Erigaisi, Vidish Santosh Gujarati, and one more,
Ivan Cheparinov.
Ivan Chiparin. They all have got 4.5 points out of 5, and they are sharing the same place after 5 rounds. They are leading the tournament.
So today, now we are going to watch some beautiful games because now, so after like this 5 rounds, leaders will compete in games, and especially the first one, in which we did Santosh, Gujarati, and Carlson Magnus are competing. So we are going to start analyzing that.
There are many interesting games are going to happen today, and the first one here in the first board we have Magnus Carlsen against Vidish Santosh Gujarati, and Vidit from India is playing with the white pieces, and he started the game with e4. The games have already started, so let's get going. Okay,
So Queen's Pawn,
so we are going for
Queen's Pawn opening,
uh-huh.
and so far they are well.
So we've got Queen's Gambit accepted or declined. After this move, we will know whether is it accepted or it's declined. If the pawn here on d5 is captured by the pawn on c4, then it will be the Queen's Gambit accepted. But if it's not captured, then it will be Queen's Gambit declined.
So except this game, we have also some beautiful games.
Yeah, one of 2 people who are sharing the first place in the tournament are Arjun Erigaisi and Yu Yang Yi. So now we will move to that game here. So
here it was Russian opening.
So it's the Petrov defense. Black is kicking out the knight, and black has just dropped back to f3.
Knight c3.
Knights are exchanged. After that, this is the opening, and the pieces are being activated. And right now, Yu Yang Yi is taking a think to plan what his plans are going to be in the next few moves.
Also we have Ivan Cheparinov and Vashilagraf Maxim. Though Ivan Cheparinov has 4.5 points, whereas Vashilagraf has only 4. This game is going to be really interesting.
Yes,
because Maxim Vashilagraf is also regarded as one of the candidates to win this tournament.
Yes, he's considered one of the best in the world.
And also in the 4th table, Shimanov Alexander and Daniil Dubov are competing. They both got 4 points.
So here a little bit problem with the internet connection. So we are back.
So after exchanging the bishops,
so it's Queen's Gambit declined. It's going now. Here there is a pyramid of pawns in the center on d5, c6, and e6, and white will try to break through from here and activate his pieces and castle kingside and start launching an attack.
So let's watch this game, and then we're gonna switch to Vashilagraf and Cheparinov. So far, whites are planning to move their knight here and this one to here, so that they are going to break this pawn structure. this pawn's structure.
So as we said, now king has just castled king side, and the bishop on c8 came to b7.
So after this, whites can try activating their rooks and play some e4.
Breaks through the center and open the lines and try to attack with the rooks in an open files.
Whereas black pieces, Carlsen Magnus can activate his knight here, queen, and some rooks here, and try also to break through the center by moving its pawn to e5.
Okay.
So as we saw with it, Santosh is activating his knight. Let's switch to the third game, in which Bulgarian Grandmaster Ivan Cheparinov and Vasily Lagraf are competing.
So we've got king's gambit, queen's gambit accepted here. The pawn on d5 took the pawn on c4, and yeah, the pawn that was sacrificed in the opening has just been captured.
So far they are playing really fast.
Because it's opening, and that has been played many times throughout their career, so they know most of the moves. So pieces are getting activated. Both kings have castled to the same side of the board, and they are throwing pawns at each other. Pawns are exchanged.
So now the position is really interesting.
Now you can look here. Rook. We can see a rook left here, and rook came to c4, and it has just come to c1 from a1. That's a beautiful.
Yeah. So on the queen's side, we have got only two pawns, one for each color, and they are weak. So they may try attacking those pieces, those pawns, and after some moves, as you can see, they are both activating, and here Ivan Cheparinov is kind of starting to attack the defense of the French Grandmaster.
Yeah, they have just exchanged their bishop for knight.
So as you can see here, queen is attacking here, and also it may try like developing its bishop here, or activating the rook from here.
Pinning the queen to the rook on c1 here. Yeah, the queen came back to c2, as you can see.
To defend the pawn on b3.
Yes. And now Maxim Vasily-Lagrav is thinking again. So we can go to another game maybe.
Shimanov Alexander and Daniil Dubov. Two great players also.
So still the opening.
So
and you can see
from the opening you can see that the game is going to be closed.
Yeah, you can see here in the fourth rank there are 3 pawns of white already, b4, c4, and d4, and now white will.
So let's see what Shimanov Alexander is going to do here.
So here Shimanov is thinking whether to take the pawn on e5 or just pushing his pawn forward.
Or he may even castle here.
Yeah, he may even castle. If you want, just ignore the threat here. Maybe give the tension a little more. Just castle kingside.
Yeah, what he can do is also activating the queen from somewhere here, castling to this side, and start attacking from the king side.
Yeah, and marching down the pawns to here, here, and here, and open up the black king and start a deadly attack.
Yes.
Okay. So the bishop dropped back to e2. And he just, as we said, he just ignored the pawn on d4. He's just keeping the tension to make it more difficult for black to play. So Daniil Dubov is thinking again. So until he makes other moves, we will go to other games.
So here, Chinese Grandmaster Xu Xingyang is competing against Anton Guillaro from Spain.
So game started with d4, d5, knight f3, e6.
So queen's opening, queen's pawn opening.
So here we can see it's kind of London system. Okay, knight e6, c3, pawn takes pawn, pawn takes pawn. Now the knight here is attacking to the bishop on f4. Now bishop will drop back to e3 or g3. We'll see. No, he goes forward. He's like trying to uh, offer an exchange of knight to bishop here. We'll
Yeah,
see.
so look, if black decides to capture this,
Mhm.
whites can capture the knight
Mhm.
and here attack the knight.
At the same time,
Yeah,
yeah.
and then he may try giving a check, and here
Oh.
just destroying the structure here.
Hmm.
So that's why Anton Guiaro just attacked the
Yeah.
bishop
Now, as we said, it will come back to
g3.
g3. It's the only safe square for this bishop. Okay, it dropped back there, and black is also trying to offer a trade of bishops. So bishop goes to b5, pinning the knight on c6 to the king. So
Both are castling.
castles, and bishop is going to be come. Oh,
So they have
so
just
bishop
exchanged.
captured the knight on c6, and it has been captured by the pawn, and rook comes to open e file, and in order to prevent black from going e5, because
Yeah.
now if it moves here, white will just take. If it takes, white can take with knight or can take with the uh, rook here. Okay, so knight comes here.
So now this knight is really dangerous. It may even move like to d3 and then capture b2. Or it may help attacking the king here
Hmm?
if some pieces are brought here, like queen, rook, and even bishop. They may get a trouble
Mhm.
to white pieces.
So there are some questions in the chat. How many Uzbek chess players are playing? They are asking, and there are 33 players from Uzbekistan that are playing in the World Rapid and Blitz Championship 2023, and most of them are men, and 22 of them are men, and 11 of them are women. So they are asking to go to Uzbek players' games.
Okay, so Uzbek player, I think Yakubayev Nadurbek,
Yes.
who has got 3.5 points out of 5.
Yes. So we'll go from beginning. So we've got Queen's Gambit. So far declined. So far, yeah, and accepted. It has been accepted after taking the pawn on d5. It has been recaptured by the pawn on e6. The bishop goes to f4. Knight is attacking the bishop. Bishop drops back. Bishop comes to e2. Whoa. This shows that white is planning to castle queenside because the pawn on g2 has been just moved to g4. So knight goes back to f6, and pawn goes forward again.
So Yakubayev is playing really aggressively. He started attacking from the early moves, and that means that the game is going to be really interesting.
Yes. Rather than going to positions that are drawn many times, they are playing for a win because they didn't come here just to make draws and just relax. They came here to win the tournament. So pawn takes pawn, pawn takes pawn. Now you can see the pawn here is hanging actually, but white didn't choose to take it actually, but just decided to put the bishop to d3, putting up like cannon here on h7 because there is also queen behind it. Okay, yes, according to this threat, black is trying to block the way and push pawn from g7 to g6.
So Yakubayev Nadurbek may wish to castle here, and start doing some kind of attack here, like activating the pawn here, bringing the knight like this here.
This where it can't be kicked out here
Yes.
because the bishop can't come here as well. But it can. Black can try to push the pawn here and open up the diagonal for the rook, and
Yeah.
maybe attack the pawn on f2.
Yeah. Well, this may kind of antis this move, but the thing is, then white may decide to kind of bring the pawn here, destroy this, and just causing a trouble to Nihal Sarin.
So it seems that white is having a really good time actually, because the pawn here seems to be strong, and after some time maybe we can see h4 here.
So Nihal Sarin will also wish not kind of defending, but may start attacking by activating this bishop, this rook, this knight, and start attacking from the queen side.
Yeah. When opponents are castled into two different ways, they will try to push the pawns forward, like this. And here, white will also push the pawns to here, and while black will push the pawns in this diagonal.
So we have one game that has finished. That's like Nestorov Arsenij and Matlakov Maxim.
Oh.
They decided to go to draw.
Maybe you can check it out.
Yes, let's go. Oh, sorry, this one.
So,
well, in this position, it's yet to be decided. So, yeah, so black may decide to activate their knight here, bishop here. So let's watch this game between Magnus Carlsen and Vidit Santosh. So we came till here. Knight c3, knight bd7, activating pieces. Sorry.
Pawn takes pawn. Wow.
Yeah, so Vidit is like a starting smoothly attacking the king here, whereas Magnus Carlsen can shy from the queen side, activating like their queen from here or here, or even bring a knight here somehow.
Okay. Because white will try to attack from king side as it's got more pieces on this side of the board, but on the other hand, black has got more pieces on the queen side, so they will attack from the queen side. So we can expect moves like this in the next few moves. So now black is thinking about where to move the knight. Maybe to here. I think that's the only square that can go. It can also come here, but after that it may be trapped here actually.
Yeah. So okay. Black may try even bringing pawn here, here, and take this pawn here. So let's see what played Carlsen in this position. Attacked.
And so defended the knight on h5, and as we expected, h4 is on the board.
So now the attack is like trapped by Magnus Carlsen, but white can still manage with that by like bringing bishop here and taking that and opening a way for its pieces.
Okay, we can see in this position Magnus Carlsen is taking a think how to continue the game, and he just moved his queen from e7 to b4.
So we also have another result. Ivan Cheparinov and Vasher Lagraf, as we have seen, it was played on the third board, and looks like they have decided to go to an early draw. So we came till here, and push. As we said, they both will try to push at these weak pawns.
Capturing,
trading
everything. everything
Yes.
one by one.
So in this position, they decided to go to draw.
The thing about this kind of top players that they don't want to lose much points, and at the same time they try. For example, Maxima Shilagravia, they just got half points each, and now Maxim has got 4 points, right?
4.5 points.
4.5 points out of 6, and Ivan Chebarinov, on the other hand, has got 5 out of 6.
Yeah, so they both decided to not take a risk and just wait for the other results. So let's go to Gareev Timur and Rauf Mamedov. Gareev Timur, as we have seen yesterday, showed a really great result. He was, after 4 rounds, he was leading the championship, but then lost to Magnus Carlsen, and now he has got 4 points as well as Rauf Mamedov.
So maybe you can go to some Uzbek players' games and to see what's happening there. Okay, we can go to Nihal Tsarin, Nodar Yakuboyev's game. So we were here, right?
Yes.
Now after White Castle queenside, the knight on d7 came to b6. Then rook comes to the file to support the pawn on g4.
Yeah, and also to prevent this move. As you can
Yes.
see. Knight c4, knight e5.
Now Norderbeck is trying to exchange the knights because this knight here on c4 is really active.
But the thing is, it may bring some negative consequences. After trading, Black may decide to move their pawn here, and after this knight will step back, this line will get open, and that may cause Yakubayev to trouble. So far, Yakubayev and Nadirbek have thought like 13 minutes. He has got only 2 minutes in his
Whoa.
cloak.
That's really difficult against one of the fastest players in the world. So
Bishop e6 after trading. Yes, so the aim of this is again bringing pawn here and rook here, attacking like this.
now a good prophylactic move would be moving the king from c1 to b1,
Yes.
stepping out of the way of the rook that is coming to c8 in the next few moves.
And also
so-
to defend the pawn on a2,
yeah,
because after the pawn will kick out the
knight.
king will defend this pawn.
So I think Nihal Sarin will not push the pawn here because if it's push the pawn in the next
Yes.
move after queen goes to b1, it can come to e4 and from e4 to f4,
f6.
f6,
Yeah.
and it will be really uncomfortable for black to deal with because if it's captured, then it will be taken with the one of the pawns here, and it will be like and very difficult to break.
Yes.
And
so instead, like Nihal Sarin can start activating pawns here, develop his queen, rooks. Whereas Nodrbek has got some poor attack here.
yeah,
He may decide to go like somehow like this.
but seems like Nihal Sarin's chances are much higher actually
Yeah.
because he's got more than 11 minutes on the clock, and Nodrbek has got less than a minute on his clock, and here they are still in the middle game, and it requires a lot of thinking.
So after Yakubayev Nodrbek will decide to activate his pawn here, Nihal Sarin can step back and prevent this move too. So Nodrbek has played queen a4.
Just a prophylactic move in case this pawn moves here and knight goes back to here or here, to protect the pawn on a2.
Yes.
Now Nihal Sarin is taking time because he's got more than 10 minutes and he could think a little bit actually. He's not really thinking in this game, but he's letting Nodrbek to think. Mhm.
Let's see this game.
Okay.
Garif Timur and Rauf Mamedov. Let's see how much they came. Okay, but here the advantage is on the black side.
Yeah, because
So,
they will. It's easy to play as black because they will just try to bring rooks here to this diagonal. So a little bit problem here, but maybe 10 seconds. So don't go anywhere. It's just a little technical problem. Now,
so overall now there is someone who got 5 points.
mhm,
It is, if I'm not mistaken, it is Ivan Cheparinov.
mhm,
And there is chance for Magnus Carlsen, Arjun Erigaisi, Yu Yang Yi,
mhm.
and Vidit Santosh to surpass them. So they will try their best to do that.
And as they go higher, the probability of playing, strong players will just increase. If they have more points, that means tougher opponents. And tougher opponents means difficult to take more points actually.
I wanted to mention that some good players, such as Yanni Pomniashi, Van Forest, and Anish Giri, Mukesh Damaraju, so far haven't showed their best performance.
Mm-hmm.
They've got only around like 3 points out of 5.
Mm-hmm. So we are back. The game, I think we were here, right? And the
Yes.
pawn was pushed to h4. Now queen is trying to infiltrate from the queen side and came to b4 and pinning the knight to queen on d2. So pawn pushed to e3, knight goes back. Mm-hmm. Okay. Trying to double the rooks on the c file.
And so we did also wanted to try that,
Hmm?
but he offers also a trade here,
Mm-hmm.
which is also another option.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So
Go.
series of trades happened here.
Both of the rooks have been traded off the board, and now there are a pair of knights and bishops in both sides, and there are like 7 pawns on each side.
So
Mhm.
Vidit may even like wish to exchange their queens, which will turn into the endgame of two knights, of two knights and bishop for Visit, and two knights and bishop for Magnus Carlsen.
But I don't think anyone in his right mind would just trade the pieces with Carlsen and
Yeah.
goes to endgame because he's the greatest player of endgames. Yesterday we saw that there was a dead draw on the board. He just made squeezed win out of nothing.
So Vidit Santos decided to attack to the bishop by moving his queen to a3.
So now Magnus Carlsen is thinking they both have more than 5 minutes on the clock, and it should be enough. But maybe you can go back to.
So Vidit Santos may wish to bring his queen here after somehow defending the
Mhm.
knights here. So this position is equal.
Mhm. Because the materials on each side are equal. Like there are two knights and one bishop here, and two knights and one bishop in the other side. There is one queen, and there are like 7 pawn on each side. So queens are both in the g file. So maybe we'll take the king to here, and start advancing the pawns. So there are some problems with the internet, but don't go anywhere. Actually, it's going to be really interesting in the next few months because we are entering the end game right now. One of the the most interesting parts of the game.
Yeah.
So this knight on e8 came to d6, preventing the black queen from infiltrating to e7. So now it's time for Vidit to think. So we can go to maybe not Yakuboev's game, where he had less than a minute on his clock.
So they've traded like, bishops.
Oh,
The
well,
situation here,
let's just simplify it a little bit, right?
yes.
After an exchange of bishops. So,
So
4.
f4. This one.
F4. Oh, it's going to be really difficult for Norbek Okuboev in the endgame because he's got less than 20 seconds on the clock. Yeah, even if you consider for every move there will be 10 seconds increment, I don't think it's going to be enough.
So black may try continue attacking the king here.
Hmm?
Well, Norbek does not seem to be attacking here.
Because the structure in the king side of the blacks, it's just closed. The pawn here is just preventing the staying in the front of the rook.
So after giving a check from c5 here, king decided to escape that.
So Norbek is just trying to simplify the game and maybe go to end game where he feels more safe, because the less pieces are on the board, the less possibility of checkmate.
Yeah.
So he's trying to trade off the rooks. If rook takes here, rook takes here, and if rook comes here, maybe he can take it. If both of the rooks are not in the board and are just exchanged, then the game becomes much more simplified actually.
When it turns to endgame, white pieces may suffer from the king side because after queens, rooks are exchanged, these pawns will get really weak.
Yes.
But for black, these pawns will also get weak here. So there will be like counter-attack from both sides.
It seems the evaluation bar dropped a little bit. So here it was equal. After this move, the evaluation bar dropped much more, and it's now favoring black.
a6.
And after knight goes back to d4,
Yeah, so now Yakubov Norbek have lost the pawn.
just for nothing. He's just down a pawn.
Yes.
And even there is so little time on his clock, and one pawn down in the game, it's going to be really tough for him to make this game even a draw.
Let's see here. Jan Nepomniachtchi. He won against Ariantari, another Norwegian player.
Yeah, the second highest rated player of Norway after Magnus Carlsen.
So here again, d4, e6.
So, whoa, that seems to be.
Overall, the game is like equal.
So it's going for a close position. The pawns on the center are just rock solid.
So this move weakened the structure of the pawns and the safety of the king. Well, however, it's not lost. The game is not lost here. Yeah, the turning point I think was somewhere here. No. F3.
So,
So Nepomniachtchi is preparing an attack from the king's side.
now, as you can see, the evaluation bar is favoring white here, and the queen on e3 just infiltrated into h6, and it's now going to harass the black king. Now black king doesn't have really much squares to escape, so Oh, that seems to be really inaccuracy because the evaluation bar just dropped very much,
Mm.
and the situation is again equal here. But we'll see what happens in the next few moves.
So
Oh,
Ariantari made a blunder here, whereas he could move his pawn to g5.
and attack, respond the attack with attack.
Yeah, and somehow like exchanging the queen for two rooks. The position would be just normal,
hmm
but after this move, rook f7.
And Nepomniachtchi found the right way to win the game.
Yes. So now Ariantari has to uh,
Sacrifice his,
queen, because if it's captured by rook
then that could be a nasty checkmate there.
in two moves, yeah, so that's why after several moves, Ariantari decided to resign the game.
Because there is got equal pawns on each side, 4 pawns and 4 pawns, but there is two rooks on black side, but there are just this big queen and this bishop on h6 have got more play control over the board than these two rooks. That's why Ariantari knew that he was going to lose in the endgame. He didn't want to go on again. Okay, so maybe we can go to other Uzbek players. Maybe another big Absattorov. There's also another interesting game here. Okay. Here, another Uzbek grandmaster, the Olympic champion in this year, Wakidov Shamsuddin, has just played with one of the highest rated players in the world, Parham Maksudlu. So the game started at e4, c5, the
Still in
film defense. They're going for the classic variation. Okay. So in this position, bishop will come to here, opening up the diagonal for the black king to castle. Okay, we'll see. But first of all, he just tried to open up his bishop on c8 and maybe come to. Okay, a little bit problem with internet again. Okay.
So I wanted to mention Parham Maksudlu yesterday lost to Magnus Carlsen in the fourth game, if I'm not mistaken. And in that game, the game was like equal. In the end game, Parham Maksudlu had knight and 3 pawns, whereas Magnus Carlsen had 2 pawns and a rook. The game was equal, but Magnus Carlsen luckily made went to victory.
He just pressured Parham until he made a mistake. The game was a dead draw actually, but he pressured Parham Maksudlu so that he made a mistake in the end game. He trapped his knight in the edge of the corner and just lost the match.
So when he realized that he lost, he asked the arbiters to recheck whether there was played 50 moves after the game was the end. The game turned to the end, and they calculated, and it was 40 moves, which wasn't enough for a draw.
Yeah, because there is such move in chess, 50 move rule. If both players doesn't take anything, like not pawns, not rooks, not bishops, for 50 moves, then the game will end in a draw. But yesterday, the amount of moves that was made was 40, and so that Parham Maksudlu lost his match against Magnus Carlsen. So here, Parham Maksudlu and Wakidov Shamsuddin are playing. So the game is going to sit still in defense, classic variation. So pieces are activating. Now white seems to be castling queenside because he just moved his queen out of this way and came to f3. The castles, knights are exchanged, opening up the diagonal for the rook here in the d file. So So this seems to be a mistake, and it's being set by computer. So the the diagonal has been blocked by the pawn on e6 by coming to e5, and now here Wahidov Shamsuddin is trying to attack the knight on f6, threatening to take it. If the knight is not defended with maybe this move, and then it will be captured, and if this pawn captures, then the queen will just win, just if clear pawn. So, but he just opened this diagonal for his bishop, maybe come to here on to g4, forking the queen and rook in the same diagonal. Okay, then queen just moved out of its way, just came to g3, bishop came to here, bishop has been activated, knight drops back to d7. Then white is trying to launch an attack in this part, because rook is Barka Maksudlu is also trying to attack the king on c1 by coming to an open diagonal in the b file. So king just steps out of the way.
So after several moves, the game was really equal. After trades, the position has turned to an endgame.
Yeah, there are like 4 to 3 pawns on each side. But here, but the game seems to be equal, and they moved. They just exchanged their rooks there.
Yeah.
So, L problem with internet again.
So here it's impossible to realize even the advantage of having a one pawn more.
Yeah, because the opposite colored bishop endgames are drawn, even if one side has got more pawns.
So let's see the game of the Magnus Carlsen.
It is still continuing, actually.
Yeah, so looks like they've traded here the bishops and the queens. So here they decided to trade. So now it's the end game of knights and pawns.
And it is really complicated when there are four knights on the board. It's really interesting. There are 4 knights and there is no major pieces other than them. So they're just going rerouting. But the problem with Santosh Gujarati's position is just he's got little than a minute on his clock, but Magnus, on the other hand, has got more than 2 minutes. So that may be a little problem in the end.
Magnus Carlsen can try what he did yesterday against Barham Maksudlu. May wait for Vidit to make a mistake
by pressuring him in time, and when he makes a mistake, he will just use his chances.
Yes. Let's turn to the second game. Arjun Erigaisi is playing against Yangi Yu. So we came till here. Yes.
Yeah, here.
Yeah. So they both developed their pieces. Equal game. Interesting move here.
Just trying to sacrifice the bishop to open up the diagonal. If we can show that one, maybe here. For example, if the pawn on e5 takes the bishop on d4, the bishop on this diagonal in e7 will be captured by this rook. And after that, the pawn here will take the pawn, and white will just, resolve one of his problems and just loses one of its doubled pawns. So, but black didn't take this bishop. Okay, another pawn break. Bishop drops back. Pinning the queen. Okay, bishop goes to e4. pawn takes pawn, queen takes pawn. Queen is being attacked by the bishop on d6,
Check.
but there is a check on d5, so white will not lose his queen. So bishop comes back to e6, blocking the check, and but white didn't take the bishop on e6, just tried to put pressure on this bishop, because there are three pieces that are straightly looking this bishop right now.
So I also wanted to point out that
Hmm?
the game is translated in two languages. This one is in English,
Yes.
and there is also in Uzbek in our channel.
Yes. If you want to watch the commentary in Uzbek, you can go to other link in UzChess channel in YouTube. But this is the first time that we are translating the commentary in English. So we need your support.
So the game is like equal here.
Mm-hmm.
But after this move, the evaluation bars,
Is favoring white.
yes, a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
So looks like they're going to repeat that and
Uh,
make a draw here. I
yeah,
think.
because they both doesn't have much time on their clock, and they don't want to play a complicated endgame where there are a pair of rooks and bishops. So maybe we can go to other games of Uzbek players. Yeah, here Nodirbek Yakubayev has just lost his match against Nihal Sarin, one of the fastest players in the world. You know, he's got one of the highest ratings in chess.com in speed chess like Rapid and Blitz.
Okay, so in this game, so we wanted to show you the game of Yakubayev Nodirbek and Nihal Sarin here. So as you can see, they've traded their knights too, and it's showing that Magnus Carlsen is now having an advantage here.
He just pressured Vidit to make a mistake, and it worked actually very well. Now he's up a pawn, is now going to win the endgame.
So before looking at that game,
Mhm.
let's see this one. So after this move,
Yeah, this move was a blunder, apparently. Yeah, because he just lost his pawn on f4. Now black is up a clean pawn, and that pawn is going to be queen in the endgame. So
even you can see in the position that
Hmm?
the pieces of Nihal Sarin are
Mhm.
activated, whereas Yakubayev Nodirbek activated his rooks too, but not that much. As black's. So after trades of pawns, after this move, the position of Yakubayev Nodirbek has deteriorated even more. So as you can see, he wanted to give a checkmate by sacrificing his knight. After h5, he just took that pawn and lost his knight.
But just the king on g8 came to h7 and just blocking everything, you know. It will just push this pawn and make a safe square for this king, and white cannot attack it openly. It's going to be difficult for white to attack, even with 11 seconds on the clock. Attacking to this kind of safe king is going to be really difficult.
So after this move, Yakubayev Nodirbek resigned the game. Now he has 3.5 out of 6. Let's see where Santosh did a mistake here. So let's see where the trade of knights happened. You were here, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, here. So the position is equal. But here, Santosh is offering a trade. But honestly, I didn't understand the point of this.
Yeah, because the pawn on h4 will be hanging after moving the knight here, after exchange, after king takes the knight, the pawn on h4 will be hanging, and Carlsen will not slip away such kind of chances in the endgame.
I think with Santosh in this position doesn't have a really good move, because if he moves with this knight, then the black knight will come here and capture the pawn. And he can't do the same with this knight.
Maybe come to here, maybe f2.
Yeah,
Just waiting for black to move, and just not to make a mistake. For example, let's move here. Yeah, it's not a big mistake. Like, it's an equal position still. For example, maybe it can come here. It's also such kind of move. He didn't want to play passively, just wanted to simplify the game, because it's easy to calculate when there are two knights on the board rather than four. So most of the games of the round 6 has already finished.
So after trading, he lost a pawn here. So this move has led him to lose another pawn at a4 after exchanging. So Magnus Carlsen has now 2 more pawns.
And he knows how to win when he has got more 2 pawns, and he is going to just push his pawns to.
So after this, so they came to this situation, and Vijay Santosh resigned the game, as it's obvious that he will lose this game. So the second game, Rigai Arjun and Yu Yangi they had played a draw. So after this round, Magnus Carlsen is now leading with 5.5 points, and now there is no one with such amount of points. The second and third games were played a draw, so Magnus Carlsen is now leading.
So here, one of the highest rated rapid players in the world, Levon Aronian, hasn't finished his game. So he's really solid player. He makes so many draws actually, but we'll see. Let's come. Okay, we've got Queen's Gambit accepted. It's the theory, and black just won a pawn on c3. Okay, and this pawn here is also hanging right now, and it's being attacked by a knight on d7.
Yeah.
And yeah, in order to prevent black from capturing the pawn on c5, white just pinned the knight to the king. So yeah, in order to protect the pawn again, he just captured the knight on d7. Captures, castles. Queen, rook comes to this diagonal to attack the pawn on c5. Okay, knight protects the pawn. Bishop attacks the rook. Attack. Now, Holt Conrad is offering queen trade, but Levon Aronian is playing for a win.
Because he's one of the favorites of this tournament.
Like you can see here, like he's got 2,762 rapid rating. It's like one of the top 4 players in the world according to rapid rating. And here his opponent, Holt Conrad, has got 2,548 rating, and it's nearly, the difference is more than 200 FIDE points, and that's really a lot.
So Levon Aronian is now trying to attack to this weak pawns here, and white is going to attack the pawn on d5, but this is protected very well with this bishop in c4.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but the game overall is equal.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Pawn captured. Queen goes back. Queens are traded eventually. Now white will try to hold on to this pawn. If he loses this pawn, he may as well lose the game because he's got double pawns on this h file, and black has got 3 connected pawns on this side of the board. So hmm? So after a few moves, we still got the same position. White is still trying to hold on to that c5 pawn.
So now even a small mistake can lead to loss here. So
All it takes to lose the game is just one mistake in chess.
So after trading, the probability of making a mistake is decreased.
Yeah. Now there are 2 pawns on each side and a pair of rooks and knight against bishop.
So here they got the equal position. So looks like they just moved. This position is
Now
equal.
it's a dead draw because there is like totally equal material, like knight against this bishop, rook against this rook. So this game hasn't finished yet, but it is going to be a draw.
Do you think Magnus Carlsen would win this situation?
In the tournament, you mean?
Yes, this
It
situation.
is going that way. He is the reigning world rapid and blitz champion, but he's still leading the tournament. After 6 rounds, he's got 5.5 points, and
So they decided to draw here.
yes, apparently.
So one game is left.
Yeah, one of the favorite Uzbek players, Nodirbek Abdusattorov, is playing against the white Dartha Daniel.
So if you see, the position is looks really looks like the position in which Magnus Carlsen won from the Alireza Firouzja.
Yeah, in the Champions Chess Tour finals in Toronto, Canada. So Magnus Carlsen won his game against Alireza Firouzja in such a situation, but at that time Alireza didn't have so much time on his clock, and when the time trouble came, he made a mistake, and Magnus Carlsen took his chance and win the game.
So let's see the turning point of this game so far. So Indian fans.
King's Indian. So there are like okay.
So Carlsen has won, as we have seen.
Yeah, Magnus Carlsen has just won, and it's like 5.5 points after 6 rounds.
So they just traded their pieces.
Yes.
Let's see where.
Nodirbek won one more piece, right?
Yes. So the position is equal.
And just the game will go on in the same side of the board, like in the king's side.
So now another backup Satarf is risking. He's
Yeah.
deciding to sacrifice his pawn and attack from the second row here.
Now he's threatening to take the white knight on g1.
So yes,
He took that and he won the extra material here. But even if that knight is captured, the game still seems to be a draw. So in this situation, White's got two pawns, and but as we saw earlier, Black won these two pawns,
Yes.
but it is still really, really difficult to win this game. But I think Norderbek Abzatorov is motivated by watching the game against Magnus Carlsen and Ali Reza Firouzja. So
Wake up Satarf is trying different ways to attack Dartha Daniel and making him confused.
yes,
But so far he he didn't manage to do that.
but the time here is like I think enough for such good players not to make mistake in this position. It's really difficult. Theoretically, it is possible to win such endgames when there is one rook against one rook, and one side has got more pieces, like one bishop. It is theoretically possible to win. So
What do you think about Absatar's game, the end game?
so mhm. This endgame is
Mm.
theoretically actually draw. In this, for example, you can see from the evaluation bar here, it is
So they drew.
yeah, they already drew. So Northern Absatar couldn't find a way to win the game
It's
like
really
Magnus Carlsen.
hard. It's really
Yeah.
hard to win this game. But I think grandmasters, even grandmasters, make a mistake in end games.
Yes.
Uh, so
So maybe we can go to another game that hasn't been finished.
between Tabatabai and
Timur Rajabov.
Timur Rajabov.
So
So now Abdusattar of Naderbek has got 3.5
points
points.
out of 6, and his chances of winning the tournament is really decreasing actually, because Magnus Carlsen on the other hand has got 5.5 out of 6, and he's just down 2 full points from the world's best player, maybe the greatest of all time. There is a little bit of problem. It's going to be fixed very, very soon, so don't go anywhere.
Naderbek Abdusattar, if you remember,
Mhm.
had won the Rapid Championship in
Mhm.
Warsaw 2021.
Yeah, there he defeated Magnus Carlsen, Ali Reza Firouzja, one of you know one of the strongest people on earth in rapid, and one of the highest rated players. And at the end, four people had exact amount of points, but according to additional statistics, Norderbeck and Yanni Pomnishi played a tiebreak game, and at the end they played two blitz games, and the white pieces, and it was a black piece. Norderbeck Absatar won two of his games and became the youngest ever world rapid champion.
So now we would like to take a little break.
Yeah, a little short break, so don't go anywhere. We'll be back 2 or maybe maximum 5 minutes, but don't go anywhere, okay? Oldu mu? Arjun oynuyor.
So we are back now. Carlsen Magnus in the seventh game is playing against another Indian grandmaster, Erigaisi Arjun.
Mm-hmm. Now Arjun Erigaisi has got 5 points out of 6, whereas Magnus Carlsen has got 5.5, and he is leading the tournament right now.
So there are like 6 people who've got 5 points, and they'll all try uh, to kind of decrease the points of Magnus Carlsen.
Okay. Here, one of the favorites of the tournament, Anish Giri, is going to play against Rolik Liam. So Anish Giri will be playing with the black pieces. So it's also some kind of bad that Hikaru Nakamura and Wesley So are not playing in this prestigious tournament. They didn't miss the last year's or they in 2021's tournaments, but for some reasons, maybe it's because that the Christmas has just happened to be in the night between 24th and 25th December. They didn't try to come.
So let's talk about the team, Uzbekistan team. So the highest one is Wahidov Jahangir with 4 points, and Wahidov Shamsuddin, Abdusattorov Nodirbek,
Hmm?
Sindarov Jawahir, Nigmatov Artik, Yakubayev Nodirbek. They all have got 3.5 points, and that's a bit
Okay.
bad for the host team.
Okay. Now maybe we can go to one more interesting game between Anish Giri and Jahangir Wahidov. Whoa, that's surprising result here.
Mm,
Here, with the black pieces, the game started with okay. Now it's the opening process.
mm.
Now black is taking space in the center by pushing the pawn from e5 to e4. So black castles. Okay, c4. Rook comes here. Knight activates. Another pawn break in the center. Pawn takes pawn. Queen takes pawn. So knight is attacking the queen on d5 right now. So queen goes to h5, and the bishop on b2 has just captured the knight on f6. So bishop takes bishop, knight goes to c3, and then blocking the diagonal of the bishop on f6. So bishop takes knight, pawn takes bishop, and knight goes to c6, going to a much more active square. So apparently this seems to be a little inaccuracy from Anishkiri here, and he's trying to bring his rooks together to d1 and to e1. Okay, now black is trying to centralize his pieces and has just brought his queen from h5 to e5. Yes, as we said earlier, the rook has just come here from a1 to d1. Okay, now Wahid Jahangir is trying to protect his pawn on e4 here because it's now being attacked with the bishop on g2 and the queen on c2. So,
So now Rook is attacking the queen. Uh, so now Anish Giri made brought his two rooks to the D line. Trading position is equal.
but at some point in the game, Anishgiri made a mistake. He must have made it. So they had 17 and 43 seconds while making these moves. So you can see why these moves are not so accurate.
So so it says that D5 was much better because after either rook captures or pawn captures, rook would just take this pawn and take this easily,
Yes.
or like if done like this, uh, he could even like bring his bishop here.
But it's time for black to move, saying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then it wouldn't be so hard to take this pawn.
Yeah, because the bishop of white is um,
Really active here,
yes. Mhm.
and like Anishgiri could have brought his um
King
king to the
to
center and take this pawn, but he played rook c1. and, um and now from this point,
mhm,
so from yeah sorry from this point, uh the advantage turned to Wahid Jahangir.
mhm. They traded their pawns here.
Yeah, Wahid Jahangir is ahead of pawn, but he has this double pawn here, which is not stable and makes this pawn really weak.
And he just lost one of his pawns just for free.
Mm, but now he's trying to capture this pawn
And
here.
now he's got one more pawn in the endgame, and will try to capitalize it.
So after this move,
Mhm.
it's saying that Black has now a huge advantage, bringing knight here. And now these two pawns are really weak and can be invaded by either king or
Knight.
knight.
Hmm?
So that's really weak now.
Yeah, black's pieces are infiltrating into white's position and trying to bring the pawn on f4 to here,
Mm.
f1, where it will be a queen.
So now Wahid of Jahangir is trying to give a checkmate from rook e5.
Hmm.
So Anish Giri should take out his uh, take away his bishop to somewhere else, and the only safe point is h1. And now this pawn is lost.
So
So
the